I was setting the table when my son said, "You should pack. This place isn't yours anymore." I had 4 plates in my hands. White ceramic, the kind you buy at Target when you're starting over and don't care about matching sets. I set them down slowly, one at a time, because I didn't trust my grip anymore. "What did you just say?" Daniel didn't look at me. He was 26, tall, with the kind of posture that comes from never having to fight for anything. He stood by the kitchen counter, arms crossed, staring at the coffee maker like it held all the answers. "You heard me." I had, but hearing it again might make it real, and I wasn't ready for that yet. "This is my house, Daniel." "Not anymore." He said it like he was reading from a script. Flat, rehearsed. "We've made other arrangements." "We?" "Jessica and I." Jessica, his wife, the woman who'd smiled at me across Thanksgiving dinner 6 months ago and told me how grateful she was that I'd raised such a wonderful man. The woman who'd hugged me at their wedding and whispered, "You're not losing a son, you're gaining a daughter." I should have known then. People who say things like that are always lying. "Where is she?" "Upstairs, packing her things." "Her things?" I let that settle. "In my house. It's complicated." Daniel finally looked at me. His eyes were my eyes, or they used to be. Now they belonged to someone else. Someone who'd taught him how to stand like that, how to speak like that, how to look at his father like he was a problem that needed solving. "You'll understand once you see the paperwork." "What paperwork?" He didn't answer. Instead, he pulled out his phone and typed something. His thumbs moved fast, confident. He hit send and put the phone back in his pocket. "What did you just do?" "Let them know you're here." "Let who know?" He didn't answer that either. Just stood there, arms crossed again, waiting. I could hear Jessica upstairs, the sound of drawers opening and closing, the soft thud of suitcase wheels on hardwood. I'd built this house. Not literally. I'm not a contractor, but I'd paid for it. 15 years of 60-hour weeks driving trucks cross-country, sleeping in rest stops, eating gas station food because restaurants cost too much. 15 years of missed birthdays and school plays and bedtime stories because someone had to keep the lights on after Daniel's mother left. And now he was standing in my kitchen, telling me to pack. "How long have you been planning this?" Daniel's jaw tightened. Just a little. Just enough to tell me I'd hit something true. "Does it matter?" "It matters to me." "It shouldn't." He looked at his phone again. "They'll be here in 30 minutes. "Who's they?" "People who can explain this better than I can." "Try anyway." He sighed. The kind of sigh you give a child who won't stop asking why. "You're not on the deed anymore. Haven't been for 3 weeks. The house transferred to a trust. Jessica's family set it up. Their lawyer handled everything." 3 weeks. I counted backward. 3 weeks ago, I'd been in Montana, hauling frozen goods from Billings to Seattle. 3 weeks ago, Daniel had called me, asked how the road was treating me, told me he missed me. 3 weeks ago, I'd believed him. You can't just transfer a house without someone's signature. You'd think so. Daniel almost smiled. Not quite, but almost. Like he was proud of something. But when someone has power of attorney, it's easier than you'd think. The floor tilted, not literally, but it felt like it should have. "I never gave you power of attorney." "No, you didn't." The kitchen was too small suddenly, too bright. The morning sun came through the window over the sink, the one I'd replaced myself last spring because the old one leaked. I could still see the caulk lines, slightly uneven, because I'm not a professional, but I'm good enough. "Daniel." "It's done." He wouldn't look at me now. "The house, the accounts, everything. It's cleaner this way. No arguments, no lawyers, no mess." "No mess." I heard myself laugh. It sounded wrong. "You're stealing my house, and you're calling it clean. It's not stealing if it's legal." Legal doesn't mean right. That landed harder than anything else he'd said. He meant it to. I could see it in the way he finally met my eyes, the way his shoulders squared up, the way his voice dropped half an octave. He'd practiced that line, probably in the mirror, probably with Jessica watching, telling him he needed to sound stronger, more confident, more like a man taking control of his life instead of a boy betraying his father. Upstairs, Jessica laughed, a bright musical sound. She was on the phone with someone. I couldn't make out the words, but I could hear the tone. Victory. Why? It was the only question left. Daniel's face did something complicated. For a second, maybe less, he looked like the kid who used to crawl into my truck when I came home, who used to fall asleep on my shoulder while I read him stories I was too tired to read. Then it was gone. Because we can. A car door slammed outside. I turned. Through the kitchen window, I could see a black sedan pulling into my driveway. Expensive. The kind of car that comes with a driver instead of a steering wheel you touch yourself. Daniel checked his phone again. They're early. Who is that? Mr. Brennan, Jessica's family attorney. And he's here, why? To make sure this goes smoothly. The doorbell rang. Daniel moved toward the front door, but I stepped in front of him. Not threatening, not yet. Just in the way. I'm not leaving. You don't have a choice. There's always a choice. Not anymore. He reached past me for the doorknob. I grabbed his wrist, not hard, but firm, the way you stop someone from touching a hot stove. His skin was warm. I could feel his pulse, quick and shallow. Daniel, look at me. He did. There was nothing in his eyes I recognized. If you open that door, there's no going back. I know. Do you? He pulled his wrist free. It wasn't hard. I let him. Because somewhere in the part of my brain that still worked like a father instead of a target, I wanted to believe he'd stop, that he'd realize what he was doing. He opened the door. The man standing there was 60, maybe older, with silver hair and a suit that cost more than my truck. He smiled like we were old friends, like he hadn't just driven to my house to evict me. Mr. Grant, that's me. Robert Brennan. I represent the Kessler family. He extended his hand. I didn't take it. He didn't seem offended. May I come in? No. I understand this is difficult. His voice was soft, practiced, the kind of voice that's used to delivering bad news in expensive conference rooms. But I think you'll find this goes easier if we can talk like adults. I am an adult. That's my house you're standing in front of. Actually, he pulled a folder from his briefcase. Leather, monogrammed. As of 3 weeks ago, this property belongs to the Kessler Family Trust. Your son is a beneficiary. You are not. I never signed anything. You didn't have to. He opened the folder. Paper clipped inside were documents. Lots of them. I saw my name, my signature, dates I didn't remember. Power of attorney was executed 18 months ago. You were recovering from a minor traffic accident. Your son was named as your legal proxy in matters of property and finance. 18 months ago, I'd been rear-ended at a truck stop outside Amarillo. Nothing serious. Whiplash. The other driver's insurance paid for everything. I'd signed some papers at the hospital. Standard stuff. Or so I'd thought. That's fraud. It's legal procedure. Brennan's smile never wavered. Your son acted in your best interest. My best interest is keeping my house. Your best interest is avoiding litigation. He closed the folder. The property transfer is complete. Contesting it will cost you money you don't have and time you can't afford. I suggest you collect your personal belongings and vacate within the hour. And if I don't? Then I'll call the police and have you removed for trespassing. Jessica appeared at the top of the stairs. She had a suitcase in each hand, designer luggage, the expensive kind. She smiled when she saw Brennan. Mr. Brennan, thank you for coming. Ms. Kessler, always a pleasure. She walked past me like I wasn't there, like I was furniture. She kissed Daniel on the cheek and set the suitcases by the door. Is he cooperating? We're working on it. Brennan kept his eyes on me. Mr. Grant understands the situation. He just needs a moment to process. He's had 3 weeks. Jessica's voice was light, cheerful. We sent the notice to his registered address. I never got any notice. The post office confirms delivery. Brennan pulled another paper from his folder. Signed for on the 23rd of last month. The 23rd. I'd been in Oregon. Daniel had called me that day, asked if I could pick up a package that had been delivered to the house, said it was something he'd ordered, needed it kept safe until he could swing by. I'd signed for it without looking, left it on the kitchen counter, never saw it again. Daniel flinched, just a little. Just enough to tell me some part of him still had a conscience. We need to move this along. Brennan checked his watch. Rolex. Of course. Mr. Grant, I'm giving you 30 minutes to collect your essentials. Clothes, toiletries, personal effects. Everything else stays with the property. Everything? Furniture, appliances, vehicles in the garage. All property assets remain with the trust. My truck is in that garage. Registered to this address. Property of the trust. I'd paid off that truck 3 years ago, drove it 200,000 miles, changed the oil myself every 5,000. It wasn't just a vehicle. It was my life. You can't take my truck. We're not taking anything. We're protecting trust assets. Brennan's voice never changed, never got louder or softer, just stayed in that same reasonable, patronizing range that made me want to put my fist through his teeth. You'll be provided with temporary transportation to a location of your choosing, within reason. Within reason. We're not monsters, Mr. Grant. I looked at Daniel. He was staring at the floor now. Jessica had her arm around his waist, holding him up or holding him back. I couldn't tell which. Daniel. He didn't respond. Look at me. Nothing. Look at your father. Jessica whispered something in his ear. He shook his head. She whispered again. He looked up. His eyes were wet, but he wasn't crying. Not quite. I'm sorry. No, you're not. I am. But this is happening anyway. Why? I asked again. Because I still didn't understand. Because there had to be a reason. Something I'd done or hadn't done. Something that made this make sense. Jessica answered instead. Because you were never going to retire. Never going to let go. Never going to stop being the martyr who sacrificed everything for his poor, ungrateful son. Her voice had edges now, sharp ones. Daniel deserves better than waiting for you to die to have a life. I was building him a life. You were building yourself a story. She stepped closer, close enough that I could smell her perfume. Expensive. Everything about her was expensive. The noble father who gave up everything. It's a great story, very moving. But Daniel's tired of being a character in it. This was your idea. This was our idea. She glanced at Daniel. Tell him. Daniel said nothing. Tell him. It was my idea. His voice was barely there. Jessica just helped me see it was possible. I wanted to hit him. Not because I'm violent, I'm not, but because hitting him might wake him up. Might shake loose whatever Jessica had planted in his head and let him see what he was doing. But I didn't. Because hitting him would prove Jessica right, would make me the monster she'd convinced him I was. 30 minutes. Brennan tapped his watch. Clock's running. I looked around my kitchen, the table I'd bought at a yard sale and refinished myself, the chairs that didn't match but were comfortable, the coffee maker I'd used every morning for 8 years, the refrigerator covered in magnets from every state I'd driven through, each one a postcard to a son who never wrote back. Where am I supposed to go? That's not our concern. Jessica smiled. But I'm sure you'll figure it out. You're very resourceful. Brennan pulled a business card from his pocket. My office can provide you with a list of temporary housing options, motels, extended stay facilities, that sort of thing. Some are quite affordable. I took the card, not because I wanted it, but because I needed something to hold on to before I did something I'd regret. The card was heavy, embossed, gold lettering. Robert Brennan, attorney at law, specializing in estate planning and asset protection. Asset protection. That's what I was. An asset that needed protecting. From myself. I'll need more than 30 minutes. 30 minutes is generous. Brennan's smile was gone now. After that, I call the police. They'll give you even less time. And they won't be as polite. I looked at Daniel one last time. Waited for him to say something. Anything. But he just stood there. Jessica's arm around him, staring at the floor like it held all the answers he couldn't give me. Okay. Okay? Brennan raised an eyebrow. I'll pack. I walked upstairs. Each step felt heavier than the last. Behind me, I could hear Jessica laugh again, that same bright musical sound. Victorious. My bedroom was at the end of the hall. The door was open. Someone had already been through it. Drawers half closed, closet doors ajar. They'd been looking for something, or maybe just reminding themselves that they could. I grabbed a duffel bag from the closet, started throwing in clothes, jeans, t-shirts, a jacket. I didn't fold anything, didn't care. I just needed to fill the bag with something so I'd have a reason to leave. In the drawer of my nightstand, I found the photo. Daniel at 6, gap-toothed and grinning, holding up a fish he'd caught at some lake whose name I couldn't remember. I was behind him, hands on his shoulders, both of us smiling like we'd just won the lottery. I put the photo in my pocket. The bathroom was next. Toothbrush, razor, the basics. I caught my reflection in the mirror and barely recognized myself. Gray in my beard I hadn't noticed before. Lines around my eyes that hadn't been there last year. I looked old, tired, like a man who'd just lost everything and didn't know it yet. Downstairs, Jessica was on the phone again, her voice carried up the stairs. No, he's being very reasonable about it. Yes, 30 minutes. I know, I was surprised too. Probably some cheap motel. Does it matter? He'll be fine. He's survived worse. I zipped the duffel bag and walked back downstairs. Daniel and Jessica had moved to the living room. They were sitting on the couch. My couch. The one I'd picked out myself because it was on sale and the color was neutral enough that it wouldn't clash with anything. Brennan was standing by the door, briefcase in hand, ready to leave the moment I did. That's it? He looked at my single bag. That's all you're taking? That's all I need. You're entitled to more. Personal photographs, documents, mementos. I'm good. He seemed disappointed, like he'd been hoping for a fight, something that would justify the hourly rate he was charging Jessica's family. Very well. He opened the door. My driver will take you wherever you need to go, within a 20-mile radius. I'll walk. Mr. Grant, I said I'll walk. I stepped past him, past Daniel, past Jessica with her perfect smile and her expensive perfume. I didn't look back, didn't say goodbye, because goodbye implied this was an ending, and something in me refused to believe that. The door closed behind me. I heard the lock click. It was my lock, my door, my house, not anymore. The black sedan was still in the driveway. The driver stood beside it, hands clasped in front of him, waiting. He was young, maybe 30, with the kind of face that doesn't ask questions or make judgments. He just does what he's paid to do. Where to, Mr. Grant? Nowhere you can take me. I walked down the driveway, past the sedan, past the mailbox with my name on it that no longer belonged to me. The sun was bright. The sky was blue. Somewhere a dog was barking. The world kept turning like nothing had happened. But something had happened. My son had just erased me, and he'd done it with a smile. Before we go any further, hit the hype button, take a second to subscribe and like the video. It really helps the channel grow. And tell us in the comments, what would you do in this situation? The motel was 15 miles north on Highway 9. The kind of place where the sign out front has half its letters burned out and the other half flicker like they're thinking about joining them. I paid cash for a week. The clerk didn't ask questions. She just took my money, handed me a key attached to a plastic diamond, and told me checkout was at 11. Room 14 was exactly what you'd expect. 2 double beds with quilts that had seen better decades, a TV bolted to the dresser, a bathroom with tile grout that might have been white once, the kind of place you stay when you're between lives and don't know which direction you're heading. I dropped the duffel on the bed and sat down. The mattress sagged in the middle. Springs complained. Outside, someone was arguing in Spanish. A car alarm went off, cycled through its repertoire of sounds, then stopped. My phone buzzed. Daniel. Don't call me. I blocked the number. It buzzed again. Jessica this time. I blocked her too. Then I turned off the phone and stared at the ceiling. Water stains. Someone had tried to paint over them, but you could still see the shapes. A map of countries that didn't exist. 3 weeks. They'd been planning this for 3 weeks, maybe longer. How long does it take to forge power of attorney documents, to find a lawyer willing to do it, to transfer property without the owner knowing? Months. It takes months. Which meant Daniel had been lying to me for months, calling me on the road, asking how I was doing, telling me he missed me, all while signing papers that would erase me from my own life. I wanted to be angry. Should have been angry. But all I felt was empty, like someone had scooped out my insides and left nothing but the shell. The photo was still in my pocket. I pulled it out. Daniel at 6, both of us smiling. I tried to remember that day. The lake, the fish, the feeling of his small body leaning back against mine as I helped him hold the rod steady. But the memory was fuzzy, worn smooth by time and too many miles driven thinking about it. Had I been a good father? The question felt important suddenly, like if I could answer it, everything else would make sense. I'd provided, kept a roof over his head, food on the table, clothes that fit. I'd never hit him, never screamed at him, never made him feel small. I'd been there when his mother left, held him while he cried, told him it wasn't his fault, stayed up with him until he fell asleep and then stayed up longer because I couldn't. But I'd also been gone. 60-hour weeks, 70 sometimes. Weeks at a time when the only way he knew I existed was through phone calls and birthday cards with extra money tucked inside. I'd missed plays, games, graduations. I'd missed the important stuff because I was too busy working to pay for the important stuff. Maybe Jessica was right. Maybe I had been building a story. The martyr father. The man who sacrificed everything. It's a good story. Easy to tell yourself when you're alone in a truck cab at 3 a.m, too tired to drive but too awake to sleep. But stories need an audience. And maybe Daniel got tired of being mine. I set the photo on the nightstand. It looked wrong there, next to the lamp with the yellowed shade and the phone that probably hadn't worked since the 90s. Too bright, too real, a piece of something true in a place built for forgetting. My stomach growled. I hadn't eaten since yesterday. There was a diner across the street, the kind with vinyl booths and laminated menus and coffee that tastes like it's been sitting on the burner since dawn. I grabbed my wallet and headed out. The waitress was 50-something with tired eyes and a smile that had seen too many truckers come and go. She poured coffee without asking and left the menu face down on the table. Know what you want, honey? Eggs, bacon, toast. How you want those eggs? However they come out. She smiled at that, a real smile this time. Long day? Long life. Aren't they all? She walked away. The coffee was terrible. I drank it anyway. The diner was half full. A couple in the corner, both of them staring at their phones instead of each other. A trucker at the counter reading a newspaper that was 3 days old. An old man by the window, fork in one hand, pills in the other, methodically working through both. Normal people, living normal lives. None of them had been erased by their children today. The eggs came, scrambled, which I hadn't asked for but didn't mind. The bacon was crispy. The toast was burned on one side. I ate it all. Tasted like cardboard, but my body didn't care. The waitress came back with the coffee pot. More? Please. She poured, studied my face. You okay? Not really. Anything I can do? Not unless you're a lawyer. Not even if I was. She set the pot down, pulled a napkin from her apron and wrote something on it. A phone number. My brother. He's not a lawyer, but he knows people. If you're in trouble. I'm not in trouble, I'm in a motel. Same thing, usually. She left the napkin. Call him, or don't. But you look like a man who needs someone in his corner. I took the napkin, folded it, put it in my pocket next to the photo. Thank you. Don't thank me, just call him. I finished the coffee and left 20 on the table. The bill was 12. She'd earned the rest. Back in the room, I turned on my phone. 17 messages. I deleted them without reading. Then I pulled up the browser and started searching. Power of attorney fraud. It's more common than you'd think. People sign documents they don't understand. Family members take advantage. By the time anyone realizes what's happened, it's too late. But it's not impossible to fight. Hard, expensive, time-consuming, but not impossible. You need proof, evidence of fraud, coercion, mental incapacity. You need a lawyer, a good one, and you need money. I checked my bank account. $1,300. That's what 15 years of 60-hour weeks gets you when you spend every extra penny on a house you're trying to turn into a home. $1,300. That might buy me 3 hours with a lawyer if I'm lucky. I closed the browser, opened my photos, scrolled back. Daniel at 6, Daniel at 10, Daniel at 15, scowling at the camera because I'd made him put down his phone. Daniel at 18, cap and gown, standing next to me in front of the high school, both of us squinting into the sun. When did it change? When did I stop being the person he ran to and start being the person he ran from? There had to be a moment. A turning point. Something I said or did or didn't do. But I couldn't find it. Couldn't see the line where love turned into resentment. It was just there, one day, hiding behind smiles and phone calls and, "I'm fine, Dad, really." My phone buzzed. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer. But something made me. Mr. Grant? I didn't recognize the voice. Male, professional, but not Brennan. Who's this? My name is Frank Holloway. I'm an attorney with Holloway and Associates. I was contacted by a mutual acquaintance who suggested you might need legal representation. I don't know you. No, but I know you. Or rather, I know your situation. Papers rustled on his end. Property transfer without consent. Fraudulent power of attorney, it's a specialty of mine. I didn't call anyone. Someone called me on your behalf. They were concerned. The waitress, the napkin, the phone number I hadn't called yet. I can't afford a lawyer. My initial consultation is free. If I take your case, we work out payment. If I don't, you've lost nothing but an hour of your time. He paused. I have an opening tomorrow at 10. My office is on Foster Street, number 412. Tomorrow's Friday. Is that a problem? It wasn't. I had nothing but time now. I'll be there. Good. Bring any documentation you have. Contracts, correspondence, bank statements, anything that shows the timeline. I don't have anything. They took it all. Then we'll get it back. His voice changed, got harder. Mr. Grant, I've handled cases like this before. They're ugly, they're personal, and they usually involve family members who think love means they're entitled to whatever they want. But they're winnable, if you're willing to fight. I'm willing. Then I'll see you tomorrow. He hung up. I sat there holding the phone, staring at the water stains on the ceiling. The countries that didn't exist. Maybe I didn't exist either. Maybe Daniel had erased me so completely that I was just a ghost now, haunting a motel room, waiting for someone to remember I'd been real. But ghosts don't feel rage, and I was starting to feel something. The restraining order came through Wednesday, hand-delivered to the motel by a sheriff's deputy who looked bored and overworked. I had to sign for it. Acknowledge receipt. The deputy waited while I read it. Temporary restraining order. Effective immediately. I was prohibited from contacting Daniel or Jessica, prohibited from coming within 500 feet of them, prohibited from the house. Violation would result in immediate arrest. You understand what this says? The deputy asked. I understand. Good. Stay away from them. Makes my life easier. He left. I sat on the bed holding the paper. 500 feet. That's not very far. That's across a street. That's a parking lot. That's the distance between me and my son, legally enforced. I called Holloway. I got served. I know. They copied me. It's standard procedure. They're trying to paint you as dangerous. I'm not dangerous. I know that. But they need you to look unstable, threatening. It helps their case if they can show you're aggressive. I met with Daniel yesterday. He asked me to. Jesus Christ. Did anyone see you? I don't know, maybe. They're going to use that. Say you violated the restraining order before it was even filed. Say you were stalking him. He texted me. He asked me to meet. Do you still have the text? I checked my phone. The text was gone. I checked deleted messages. Gone there too. He deleted it. Of course he did. Holloway sounded tired. They're building a narrative. You're the crazy ex-father who can't let go. They're the victims trying to move on with their lives. That's bullshit. That's law. Facts matter less than stories, and their story is cleaner than yours. So what do? Nothing. You do absolutely nothing. Don't contact them. Don't go near them. Don't even think about them in a way that could be construed as threatening. For how long? Until the hearing. 2 weeks. 2 weeks felt like forever. I spent the next 3 days in the motel room, didn't go out except for food, didn't talk to anyone except Holloway, didn't do anything that could be used against me. On the 4th day, Holloway called. I found the nurse. Teresa Vance? That's her. She's living in Nevada now. Took the $50,000 and disappeared. Will she talk? Not willingly, but I contacted the DA, explained the situation. They're interested. Fraud involving medical sedation is serious. They're willing to offer her immunity if she testifies. What does she say? She hasn't said anything yet. They're flying out to talk to her next week. If she agrees, we have our smoking gun. And if she doesn't? Then we go with what we have. The emails, the bank records, it's strong evidence. But a live witness is better. How much better? The difference between probably winning and definitely winning. Probably wasn't good enough. Not anymore. What do? You wait. I know it's hard, but that's all you can do right now. I waited. Days bled into each other. The motel room became my entire world. 4 walls and a water-stained ceiling. The map of countries that didn't exist. On the 8th day, my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me. Mr. Grant? Female voice, older, nervous. Who's this? Teresa Vance. I sat up, every nerve suddenly awake. How did you get this number? I have my ways. She paused. I heard the DA wants to talk to me. They do. And you want me to testify? I do. Against the Kesslers. Against everyone involved, including yourself. I didn't want to do it. Her voice cracked. But $50,000 is a lot of money, and they made it sound so simple. Just a little extra sedation. You wouldn't even know. I didn't know. Not until recently. I'm sorry. Sorry doesn't give me back what I lost. I know. That's why I'm calling. I'll testify. I'll tell them everything. What they asked me to do. How much they paid. All of it. Why? Because I haven't slept in 6 months. Because every time I close my eyes, I see your face in that hospital bed. Because $50,000 isn't worth living with this. The DA will offer you immunity. I don't want immunity. I want to make this right. It's too late for that. Maybe, but it's not too late to tell the truth. She hung up. I sat there staring at the phone. Teresa Vance was going to testify. The nurse who'd drugged me, who'd guided my unconscious hand, who'd taken $50,000 to help destroy my life. She was going to make it right. I called Holloway. She called me, Teresa. She's going to testify. She told you that? Just now. Said she can't live with what she did. That's good. That's great. He paused. But you shouldn't have talked to her. If they find out, she called me. I didn't call her. Doesn't matter. They'll say you intimidated her, coerced her testimony. I didn't say anything, just listened. Okay, good. Don't contact her again. Let the DA handle it from here. When's the hearing? Next week, Monday, 9 a.m. Will she be there? If the DA gets her immunity, yes. She'll testify about the sedation, the payment, everything. And then? And then the judge decides. If he believes her, the power of attorney is void. The property transfer is reversed. You get everything back. And if he doesn't? Then we appeal. Take it to a higher court. Fight it until we win. How long does that take? Months. Maybe years. I don't have years. Then let's hope he believes her. The week passed slowly. I spent it preparing, writing down everything I remembered. Dates, times, conversations, building a timeline, building a case. Holloway came by Friday, brought coffee and legal pads. We went through everything, my testimony, what I'd say, how I'd say it. He coached me, told me to stay calm, stay factual, don't get emotional. They're going to try to make you look unstable, angry, dangerous. Don't give them ammunition. What if I am angry? Then hide it. Save it for after. Right now, you need to be the calm, reasonable man who was wronged, not the vengeful father looking for payback. I'm not looking for payback. Aren't you? I thought about that. Was I looking for payback, or was I looking for justice? And what's the difference? I just want what's mine. Then focus on that, not on what they did, on what you're owed. Sunday night I couldn't sleep. Lay on the bed staring at the ceiling, the water stains, the countries that didn't exist. Tomorrow everything changed. Either I got my life back or I lost it forever. No middle ground, no compromise, just winning or losing. I thought about Daniel, about the boy who used to crawl into my truck when I came home, who used to fall asleep on my shoulder, who used to look at me like I was the strongest, smartest, best person in the world. When did that change? When did I stop being his hero and start being his burden? Maybe it was gradual. Maybe it was sudden. Maybe it didn't matter. All that mattered was tomorrow. Monday morning came cold and gray. I put on the only clean shirt I had left. Dark blue, button down. The kind of shirt you wear when you need to look respectable, when you need people to take you seriously. The courthouse was crowded. Lawyers in expensive suits, families in their Sunday best, everyone waiting for their turn to fight, their turn to prove they deserved justice. Holloway met me in the hallway. You ready? As ready as I'll be. Teresa's here. DA got her immunity. She'll testify first. And Daniel? He'll be here, with Jessica, with Brennan. They'll sit behind him, make him look supported. And me? You have me. That's enough. We walked into the courtroom. It was smaller than I expected. Wood paneling, high ceilings, an American flag in the corner. The judge's bench was empty. We took our seats. Daniel and Jessica came in 5 minutes later. Brennan was with them. So was another lawyer I didn't recognize. They sat on the other side. Daniel didn't look at me, just stared straight ahead. Jessica whispered something to him. He nodded. The bailiff stood. All rise. Judge Morrison entered. Same gray hair, same seen-it-all face. She took her seat, looked around the courtroom. We're here on the matter of Grant versus Grant. Let's begin. Holloway stood. Your Honor, we'd like to call our first witness, Teresa Vance. The bailiff called her name. A woman stood from the back, thin, pale. She walked to the witness stand like she was walking to her execution, took the oath, sat down. Holloway approached. Ms. Vance, can you tell the court your profession? I'm a nurse. Or I was. I'm retired now. And were you employed at St. Mary's Hospital in March of last year? Yes. Did you treat Mr. Grant when he came in following a car accident? Yes. Can you describe what happened? The house was mine again. Legally, on paper. The judge had said so. But walking up the driveway 3 days later felt wrong, like I was trespassing in my own life. The key still worked. The lock clicked open. I stepped inside. Everything was different. They'd painted the walls, changed the furniture. The couch was gone. In its place was a leather sectional I'd never seen before. The coffee table was glass and chrome, modern, expensive, nothing like what I'd had. The kitchen was worse. New appliances, new countertops. They'd even changed the lighting. Everything was brighter, cleaner, more perfect, like they'd been trying to erase every trace of me. I walked upstairs. My bedroom was now their bedroom, a king-size bed where mine used to be. Framed photos on the walls, Daniel and Jessica, wedding pictures, vacation pictures, a life I wasn't part of. I took the photos down, one by one, set them on the bed, then I went to the closet. It was full of their clothes, designer labels, the kind of stuff you buy when money isn't a concern. I pulled it all out, dumped it on the floor. My clothes were gone, thrown away or donated or burned. Didn't matter. They were gone. I spent the next 2 hours going through the house, room by room, drawer by drawer, looking for anything of mine that might have survived. I found 3 things: a coffee mug from a truck stop in Idaho, a blanket my mother had made before she died, and the photo. Daniel at 6, the fish, the lake. It was in a box in the basement, hidden behind paint cans and old tools. They'd kept it but didn't want to see it. Didn't want to be reminded. I took it upstairs, set it on the kitchen counter, stared at it. That little boy was gone. The man who'd taken his place was a stranger, someone I didn't know, someone I'd never know. My phone rang. Holloway. You at the house? Yeah. How's it look? Different. They'll have to come get their stuff. You're required to give them access. Supervised access. I can arrange it. When? Tomorrow if you want. Get it over with. Okay. How are you holding up? I don't know yet. That's fair. He paused. You won, you know. Not everyone does. Doesn't feel like winning. It never does. Not when family's involved. He hung up. I spent the night in the house. In my house. In the bedroom that used to be mine. On a bed that wasn't mine. Staring at a ceiling that had been repainted white. The water stains were gone. The countries that didn't exist had been covered up. Morning came. Holloway arrived at 9. Daniel and Jessica came at 9:30. With Brennan. With 2 moving trucks. With a crew of men who started loading furniture before anyone said hello. Daniel didn't look at me, just pointed at things. That couch, that table, those chairs. The men loaded it all, efficient, professional, like they'd done this 1,000 times. Jessica stood in the living room directing traffic. Holloway stood next to me, making sure nothing went wrong, making sure no one said anything that would start a fight. It took 3 hours. 3 hours to remove every trace of them from the house. Every piece of furniture, every photo, every memory. When they were done, the house was empty. Just walls and floors and windows, a shell, a space waiting to be filled. Daniel walked past me on his way out. Jessica was already in the car. Brennan was talking to the movers. It was just me and him for 5 seconds, maybe less. I'm sorry, he said. I didn't respond. I know you don't believe me, but I am. Sorry you got caught or sorry you did it? He didn't answer, just walked to the car, got in, drove away. I stood in the driveway watching them disappear. The moving trucks followed. Then Brennan in his expensive sedan. Then silence. Holloway put his hand on my shoulder. It's over. Is it? The legal part is. The rest is up to you. He left. I went back inside, walked through the empty rooms, the blank walls, the spaces where furniture used to be. It looked bigger now, hollow, like a house that had never been lived in. I started in the living room, pulled out my phone, took photos. Every room, every angle, documentation, proof that they'd taken everything. Then I called a furniture store, told them I needed everything: couch, chairs, table, beds. They asked what style. I said I didn't care. Just send what you have. They said they could deliver tomorrow. I gave them my credit card. $1,300 wouldn't cover it, but I'd figure that out later. I spent the rest of the day cleaning, scrubbing walls, mopping floors, erasing their fingerprints, their DNA, their existence. By evening, the house smelled like bleach and lemon cleaner, sterile, new. That night I slept on the floor in the empty bedroom, no mattress, no blanket, just hardwood and silence. I stared at the ceiling, the white ceiling with no water stains, no countries that didn't exist. I thought about Daniel, about Jessica, about Teresa Vance and her $50,000, about Brennan and his briefcase, about everyone who'd played a part in erasing me. And I thought about what came next. Holloway had said it was over, the legal part. But there were other parts, parts that courts couldn't touch, parts that lawyers couldn't see. I'd won my house back, my money back, but I'd lost my son to choice. He'd chosen Jessica over me, chosen money over truth, chosen easy lies over hard love. And that's what hurt most. Not the theft, not the betrayal, but the choice, the conscious, deliberate decision to erase his father. Sleep came eventually, fitful, broken. I dreamed about the lake, about Daniel at 6, about the fish. But in the dream, he wasn't smiling. He was screaming. And I couldn't reach him, couldn't save him, could only watch as he disappeared beneath the water. I woke at dawn. The house was cold, empty. I made coffee in the kitchen, used the mug from Idaho, sat at the counter where the table used to be. The furniture arrived at 10. 2 men hauled it all in. Couch, chairs, table, bed. Basic stuff, functional. I didn't care about style, just needed the space filled. By noon, the house looked lived in again. Not home, not yet, but closer. I spent the afternoon setting up, putting dishes in cabinets, hanging the photo of Daniel on the refrigerator. Not because I wanted to remember, but because forgetting felt like giving up. My phone rang. Unknown number. I let it go to voicemail, listened to the message. Mr. Grant, this is Patricia Holloway, Frank's wife. I wanted to call and say congratulations. Frank told me you won your case. I know how hard you fought. You should be proud. I wasn't proud. I was empty. Another call. Another unknown number. I didn't answer. Let it go to voicemail. Hey, this is Rachel. Rachel Cho. I heard you won. I just wanted to say I'm glad. They deserved what they got. I hope you're doing okay. I wasn't doing okay. A third call. This time I recognized the number. Teresa Vance. Mr. Grant, it's Teresa. I know you probably don't want to hear from me, but I wanted to say I'm sorry for what I did, for my part in it. I know it doesn't change anything, but I needed you to know. I deleted all 3 messages. The house was quiet that night, too quiet. I turned on the TV just for noise, flipped through channels, landed on some movie about a father and son, turned it off. I went to bed early, lay there in the dark, in the new bed that didn't feel like mine, in the empty house that used to be full, and I thought about revenge. The word felt wrong, dirty, like something you're not supposed to want, but I wanted it. Wanted Daniel to feel what I'd felt. Wanted Jessica to lose what she'd taken. Wanted all of them to understand what they'd done. But revenge is a luxury, and I couldn't afford luxuries anymore. So I did what I'd always done. I worked. Found a job driving local routes, nothing cross-country, just in-town deliveries, enough to pay bills, enough to survive. Weeks passed, then months. The house started feeling like home again. Not the home it used to be, but a new kind of home. One without memories, one without ghosts. I didn't hear from Daniel, didn't expect to. He'd made his choice. I'd made mine. Sometimes that's all there is. Two people choosing different paths. Neither one wrong, neither one right. Just different. But late at night, when the house was quiet and the darkness was heavy, I'd think about him. About the boy he'd been. About the man he'd become. About the distance between those two people. And I'd wonder if he thought about me too. If he ever regretted what he'd done. If he ever looked at Jessica and realized she'd used him. That the life they'd built was a lie. That love doesn't cost $50,000. But wondering doesn't change anything. Doesn't bring back what's lost. Doesn't heal what's broken. So I stopped wondering. And I learned to live with the emptiness.